this video, we're going to go over some basic measuring, dimensioning, and modifying commands in AutoCAD. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at measure command, and you can see that I could type measure geom in and I can do a variety of different types of measurements. I can just measure distance. Alternatively, I can go up to the Utilities tab, which is located at the upper right hand side, and I can choose from a variety of other things. I can measure a radius, I can measure an angle, I can measure the area, and so I'm going to demonstrate a few of those things here for you. Alright, this is measuring an angle. Hitting escape or X will get me out of using this command. Then lastly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure an area for you. You specify an area in this way. You can choose points until you get to a closed shape, and then once you're there, you could continue on, or you could hit total, and that will give you the value at that point. Now that we're comfortable with measure commands, let's look at some modify commands. The first ones that I'm going to start with are going to be the trim and extend commands, and you can see when I click this that I get the choice of trim or extend. I'm going to use trim. Alright, and the way that this works is that I select what my edges are going to be to make the trim. So here I select those two lines, I hit enter, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the object I want to trim. So here you see as I hover over it will highlight. Once I click, what it will do is trim the object based on those lines. Let's repeat it again. I can just type trim, or I could hit enter and it would repeat. I can set here to use this line as my trim point, and then I can hit enter and I can use that to cut off the edge. Next, in the same location, I'm going to show you the extend command, again located under modify. So if I click extend, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to define the edge I want to extend to. I'll hit enter, and then I will be able to extend the object, or extend an object up to that edge. I'll repeat this a few times just for good practice. So I can type in extend, or I can find it up on the modify thing. I'm going to set this rectangle to be my location, and then I can extend this line to meet that rectangle. Alternately, I can extend the line that I see over here to meet that line, and I do it just as simply as using that command in that way. Next, I'm going to demonstrate the command offset. It's found under modify here in the bottom right, and what this will allow me to do is draw things like concentric circles or concentric shapes or parallel lines. The first thing you do is you specify distance either by typing it in or by using a mouse command. When I do that, I can then make shapes which are separated from each other. They're basically copies of each other, separated from each other by the distance that I specified. Alright, to show you again, I can click modify, I can choose the distance, I can type in what that distance is, or I can specify it with my mouse clicks, and then I can make shapes that are offset from each other by a certain distance. I can also use this to make parallel lines, as I'll demonstrate right here. And I'll demonstrate I can use offset by typing it in. I'm going to make parallel lines separated by 1 each. Next, we're going to talk about dimensioning. Dimensioning is incredibly important when making engineering drawings and other drafting drawings in AutoCAD. You can see there's under annotation dimensioning there, but what we want to do is go to the annotate tab. There's some information about text here, but what I'm really looking for is to find this little drop down arrow And I can change dimension styles in this way by clicking Modify or Create New. I can change the font size, the arrow size, the way that leads look for my dimensions, all sorts of things like this. Also nice in the dimension or in the annotation thing is making center lines, which is done just to the right of the dimensions part on Annotate. Now to make dimensions, I can go to Annotation. You can see where I keep clicking. I'm starting right now with linear dimensioning. You can see there are several different types. We're going to do this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see a little more clearly. Since the values are difficult to read, I might want to change that in dimension styles if I so choose. I can also do what is called align dimensioning. What that does is it actually measures and dimensions the length of a line, which is different from the linear dimensioning, which I'll show you very quickly. You see that those values are different. I can also use angular dimensioning, which I'll show you now. I can just go over here and choose angle, and I can measure the angle here, place it either inside or outside of the angle. I can click it again, and I can dimension different angles so you can see what I've done. Another thing that I'm able to do is to measure radii, as well as the diameter of a circle or an arc. So you can see if I come up here and I choose radius, I can see the radius. What I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit so I can see what I've done. I can pan over. You can see the previous dimension I made on the rectangle, and you can also see that I can measure either the radius or the value of the diameter. And just one last reminder that I can go back to the Annotate tab and I can change the dimension styles by clicking there. I can also get center lines.
Nailed it! Nailed it!